Three strikes and still beating. I am AK Thiagaraj. So here we are. Cardiac rehab was over. I had a brand new job and I was still recovering from a heart attack. But life, for the most part, was returning to something that resembled normal, or at least a new version of normal. Work was still slow. It was early in the year and not much had ramped up yet. But I had enough meetings, onboardings, and responsibilities to feel like I was contributing. I was also proud. I mean, who gets a new job after a heart attack and gets paid more? That felt like a quiet personal win, a middle finger to fate. In February, 1 month in, I got sent to Las Vegas for a national sales kickoff. Some big hotel, lot of lights, stage productions, thousands of salespeople amped up like they were about to go into battle. It was like being dropped into the Super Bowl of sales. I finally met my manager in person and spent time with teammates I had only seen on Zoom. But guess what? I was asked to coach a team exercise 1 month in. Barely knew the products. I remember thinking, what the fuck is going on? Me? Coaching? It felt like the blind leading the blind, but with a mic and PowerPoint. There was this moment during the exercise when someone asked a technical question and I froze. No idea what they were talking about. I gave a generic motivational answer like, great question. Let's think strategically about how that applies to your territory. Total nonsense, but they nodded and we kept going. One guy even said, that was a great insight. I was flattered, but felt like an imposter. I kept waiting for someone to pull me aside and say, hey, we made a big mistake. You weren't supposed to be hired. Even though I wasn't required to reveal my medical history, it felt like I was holding a secret, like I was performing a version of myself, fine, capable, energetic, but underneath still rebuilding, still figuring out how to show up every day without showing the cracks. But something else happened in Vegas too. I finally opened up to two colleagues who had joined the same day as me. Remember those guys I slacked with during onboarding? We were sitting in the bar after a long day of sessions. I just said it. Yeah, I had a heart attack last summer. They were shocked. I think they looked at me differently after that. More respect, maybe? Or maybe they were just surprised I'd shown up at all. Or maybe they were thinking, we got a guy with 1 foot in the grave and management hired him. No standards. I didn't tell my manager though. Still it's too soon. Didn't want to be labeled fragile. Or worse, a death risk or a flight risk. Funny how we are more comfortable telling coworkers at a bar than our bosses. But in the background, the meds were dragging me. I was tired all the time, mentally foggy and moody. What choice did I have? I pushed through. Depressive thoughts started creeping in. My primary care doctor suggested antidepressants. I resisted. Wasn't I already taking enough pills? Now I had to make two more pharma companies profitable? Still, I kept going to church, tried to keep my faith alive. But I wasn't sure anymore. Was I doing it for me? Or so my mom wouldn't be disappointed? Maybe both. Either way, it was a routine I clung to. Sometimes routine is all you have. I couldn't believe I was 50 and still trying not to disappoint my mom. even though she never knew how shaky my faith really was. The irony, every time she said, God is in control, I got mad. I would start listing all the ways God had let me down. Once she said, God gives the most difficult battles to the strongest soldiers. And I said, Ma, I'm not strong. And even if I was, can you please demote me to the unit that cooks for the army? And in the middle of all this chaos, I had another thing going. Toastmasters. Yeah, public speaking. I joined a local club to improve my presentation skills, partly for work, partly for me. I'd attended on and off before the heart attack, so I figured, why not add it back? Toastmasters was fun and nerve wracking. I wanted to go. Sometimes I didn't, but I kept showing up. Half the battle is just walking through the door. There was something about standing in front of people and telling a story, even if it was about football or food. That gave me a sense of control. Like, if I could make people laugh or think, maybe I hadn't lost my edge. Maybe I still had something worth saying. So I started competing in Toastmasters contests. First round was the area round. And guess what the speech was about? Alabama football and national championship debacle. My eternal source of inspiration and metaphors. I was pumped. Had a killer speech. Reflective, funny, emotional, and I won. That win pushed me to the next level. I kept refining the speech, tighter delivery, better timing, a few more gestures. I practiced regularly. I was ready. The next round was set for April, Thursday evening before Good Friday. But that Thursday morning, I had one more thing to do. Not work, not drop offs, jury duty. I am a civic minded person. Trial by peers, democracy in action. A bunch of jokers like me deciding someone else's fate. What could go wrong? I couldn't postpone again. I'd already used the minor health incident excuse, a heart attack. I called the night before, hoping to be excused. Nope, I had to show up. So I went to court, already depressed, and then sat in a room with 200 more depressed people, hoping not to get picked. As luck would have it, I was picked for jury selection. I sat in the courtroom looking around thinking, where are the sharp suits, the perfect hair, the dramatic objection moments? The judge looked at us and said, you are not in law and order, so don't get carried away. Maybe she had a sense of humor, like mine. Then she said, if anyone has a valid reason to be excused, now's the time. I was torn. Do my civic duty or try to get out of it? I decided to try. Raised my hand. The judge went around the room. Some people got excused. Some didn't. Then she came to me. What's your excuse? I said, Your Honor, I had a heart attack and I'm recovering. She asked when. I said 9 months ago. She looked incredulous. 9 months ago, and you want to be excused? And then she launched into a big lecture. How people go back to work a week after a heart attack, how important jury duty is. I was sitting there thinking, what the fuck did I do? But honestly, she wasn't wrong. She did not excuse me. I wasn't thrilled, but not disappointed either. Part of me wanted to do the right thing. But when the defense attorney got his turn, he excused me. Probably didn't want a juror dropping dead in court. I went home with mixed feelings. Did I abuse my heart attack card? Anyway, lunch, nap, practiced my speech a few times for the family, took my dog for a walk jog, heard exercise reduces adrenaline, shower, suit up, big speech night. My wife was on the fence about coming, but eventually decided to join me. She'd come on her own since I had to arrive early. That was sweet. I hoped I'd win again, make it worth her time since she missed the first round. I checked in, small talk, something felt off. Not just nerves, something else. My wife arrived and sat next to me. The competition started. The other speeches went by. I barely registered them. Just this vague sense of malice. Then my name was called. I stood up, walked to the front, started my speech. Roll, tide, roll. A couple of more lines, and then nothing. I went down, just collapsed, mid sentence, onto the ground. If this episode moved you, or even just made you laugh once, leave a quick rating or review. It helps more people stumble on to this little show. Beaten by life, still beating.